it's essential that my missives communicate if something is wrong, whether it's in a form of a safe word or anything else.
Let's take it back to the beginning. How did you get into this? When did you explore the idea of doing it?
I've always been kinky. I've always liked it. I was like, maybe I could actually make some money. I started researching. I did all the things slowly, actually. It was quite slowly. Started a website, started advertising, and cleared my debt, and also realized I really liked it.
What characteristics would you say someone should have if they want to become dominatrix?
First of all, it really is helpful if you're actually kinky. But because there is theory to BDSM,
Okay.
so I teach it as well. So, there are ways in which you should do things. Within our group, within the kinksters in general, there's a lot of conversations about consent and kinks. Because, there are 200 kinks available, probably even more these days.
Have you ever had experience financially dominating? Has there ever been any hairy moments where you felt endangered?
Consent is the most important thing in BDSM.
Yeah.
And I need consent for every single activity we're doing and the level of it. There are some fetishes that are, let's say, less common than others, such as a puffer jacket fetish. Another dominatrix had her account frozen for 2 years.
So is that because the customer pays money and then when he leaves he's like, oh?
No, I think another reason is because the banks don't like to deal with sex workers. It's very helpful to be able to voice yourself as a female. Doing this helps. That is the very reason why the sex industry exists.
What is your favourite gadget in this dungeon you like to use? You ready? Okay. So, hello and welcome back to Sexonomic. Today I have a special guest with me. She loves to go by Mistress Wildfire.
Correct.
And she is also a
Dominatrix? Is that what we're asking?
Yes. Well, you never know how people want to identify these days.
Yeah, that's pretty much correct.
So do you just go by Mistress Wildfire or?
Yeah, Mistress Wildfire. Yeah, that's pretty much right.
Okay. How long have you been doing this for?
It's just over 7 years, so quite a while.
Okay.
I know how, time flies when you have fun.
And you do have fun.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was talking about it yesterday to someone. I do enjoy it a lot, and I'm really lucky that I can say I just love my job.
Yeah, I think that's so important in life, that you love the work you do. And having spoken with quite a few people in sex work, there's misconceptions that people don't enjoy this, but for the most part, a lot of people do.
Yes, I agree, because it would be a very difficult job to do if you didn't like it. Okay. And I don't suppose someone could carry on for so long. With any job that you don't enjoy, it becomes quite tough. But this, when you have a certain energy to give to people, and if you dislike, for example, men, it's never going to work for a long term. That's why a lot of people come into this industry and go away after a few years.
Obviously, we are in London right now, and in London there's quite a large sexual market in terms of like sex workers. I'm a stripper, so obviously I'm aware of the clubs that are open. With domming, what's the competition like in the London area?
It's interesting. Well, there is a lot of competition, I have to say. I don't know how many dominatrixes there are in London, but I've never really checked. So I haven't got there are no statistics, actually, but I suppose we could all check.
Yeah.
But there are hundreds, and the competition is very fierce. Although then London is a massive city, and we have all the tourists and, people who come over from abroad. So there's a lot of demand as well.
And as well, I think when I contacted you, obviously you go into one of these pages and that's how you advertise and stuff.
Correct.
I think I really liked your outfit and I was like, she seems cool. I'm gonna ask her to come on.
Yeah, there's a lot of outfits are important here.
Obviously. And so many people just like steal from like BDSM culture and like appropriate it and put it into mainstream, which is actually cool because you see it.
I think it's better for it to be that way than the other way around, that it's all covered. Although there was a GIMP going to the Shakespeare's Globe the other day, and that wasn't a good thing to do. It's got to press and...
Wait, you took a GIMP or you saw a GIMP?
I just saw an article that a GIMP went on his own.
Oh.
And, you know, even though he was fully covered in latex,
wow,
people were complaining. I suppose it is a sexualized outfit, so, you know, there was an interesting bit of discussion. Well, he's covered, but then again, it's sexualized. But then there are children, but there were no children over there, so...
It's time and environment, I do
Exactly.
agree.
Yes.
I mean, my friend told me, you know, Torture Garden?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard it's quite a tame thing to go to.
I wouldn't say... Well, depends who's asking, I suppose. I wouldn't say it's tame. They're all very similar, those clubs, to me.
Well, there was a GIMP and he was kneeling on the floor and he just got kicked all night by random different people.
Yeah, some people love it. So each to their own, of course. And if you had a fetish for that, then that's the place to explore it.
Let's take it back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into this? When did you explore the idea of doing it?
It was quite a few years ago now. I think I started thinking about it when I was around 30.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing a very expensive degree at the time and I just got into a lot of debt. And I realized I wasn't able to pay it off. So unfortunately, I just kept thinking, wow, what am I going to do with this now? And I thought maybe there is a way I could make some money sort of quickly. And I've always been kinky. I've always liked it. In my, well, always, in, you know, since I was, let's say, 27. I was 27 when I started kink actively. So I was like, maybe I could actually make some money. I started researching. I started doing some workshops, meeting people, and it turned out that I did all the things slowly. Actually, it was quite slowly. Started a website, started advertising, and cleared my debt, and also realized I really liked it.
Amazing. By the way, guys, she looks 21.
I'm definitely not 21.
Well,
Sorry.
It's okay. You look it to me. But what were you studying at the time? And were you studying in London or?
Yes, that was a graduate diploma in law.
Okay.
And those are expensive, of course.
Especially international?
No, that was just usual. But I was £12,000, so at the time,
Yeah.
which was when did I do it? It was around 2012.
Yeah.
So I just, and I thought, this should tie me over. But instead, I realized I actually am enjoying myself. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing here. And I decided to just keep on going.
You do this website, you set it up, and you kind of layer by layer, build it up, as you said, go to these classes. Your first customer, do you remember it?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I remember him very well. You never knew he was my first client. I went to one of those dungeons in central London that were available for hire. That one in particular is now closed. And I had a little bit of experience. Realistically, I had a lot of theory in my head, but very little practice.
Yeah.
But because there is theory to BDSM,
Okay.
I teach it as well. So, there are ways in which you should do things. We are very creative. We love our creativity. But, you need to be able to maintain a technique as well. So I said, okay, this should be done like this. This I'm going to, he had his fetishes. I made a little list. I took down and, and yes, we just it's just went. I was very stressed,
So
of course. But, it was too late. I was there and he came in and we did that session and it was okay. He stayed with me for the next 3 years.
what was the feeling before you did it and then after you did it? What was running through your veins?
Before, I remember being stressed. I remember it was just the usual, performance. You're about to perform something and you're not too sure how it's going to go. So I suppose that was just that. But I don't remember after. I remember we had lunch.
Oh.
So that was lovely. So
Obviously made him pay.
Oh, certainly. I think I remember the food and, it's all gone well. Yes, I do have to say I don't have any sort of unpleasant memories because things don't always go well. Especially if you're very new, you have to be very careful. Things can happen. But that session, actually, that was really, really good. And I realized, okay, we can keep on going.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned theories because, when you do research for an interview, you kind of do your internet research and then you do your kind of perspective interview with your friends and you go, what do you think Dominatrix does? I think I know a little bit more than like my normal friends who aren't in the sex industry, but I obviously don't know as much as you because you are a dominatrix. What are some of the theories, if you can share them with us, or just basic principles?
Well,
obviously I know
the basic principles is safe, sane and consensual, for example. We can talk about that a lot. Consent is the most important thing in BDSM, and I need consent for every single activity we're doing and the level of it. Even yesterday I had someone who asked for CBT, which is cock and ball torture, and he said, can we do it extremely light? And I say, yes, as a matter of fact, I need your consent for, it's called torture, and then it's light. So it's quite a contradiction, but it's the way we call things. So anyway, if someone's asking for a light CBT, this is what they're getting. So that's one of the most important things. Then, of course, another... so safe. It's I'm responsible for people's safety here. Sane, well, it goes without saying. And then RAC is the other principle, risk aware consensual kink. We are both, me and the submissive, need to be aware that there are inherent risks to BDSM. We are doing activities that are, some of them at least, sometimes can be painful. And that brings risk. And of course, we're both in it together. I'm aware of the risk. I'm doing everything to minimize it. The submissive is aware of the risks as well. He's doing everything to minimize it. Okay. But the risk is there.
Is it a verbal agreement or is it a written or...
Verbal. Verbal is, I've done it for 7 years without any issues. So seems to work rather well, this approach. Of course, then there is an email that's a written agreement where everyone is listing their fetishes. And that's already, if they say, oh, I like that, then that's already consent. But I like to go through it verbally before the session, as everyone else does. That's a standard in our industry.
The email's like a paper trail of just,
exactly,
God forbid, the worst. But you said, obviously there's a lot of discussions beforehand and you discuss the kink.
Correct.
And what that is. But that sounds like there is almost more consent in what I would translate into the normal dating world. Like, as so many of my girlfriends, like when they go out and hook up with a guy, or even my guy friends, they obviously consent, but sometimes they're shy to ask for things in the bedroom. And I love that in your industry.
Correct.
People can just ask for it and not feel shamed.
Yes, not just in my industry, but within our group, within the Kinksters in general, there's a lot of conversations about consent and kinks. Because, there are 200 kinks available, probably even more these days. You can fetishize a lot of things, but let's say around 200. So that's a lot. So, if one person is kinky and the other person is kinky, oh, fantastic. But do we even like the same thing? So this is where conversation begins.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you need to probe and you need to ask and find out what your, let's say, prospective play partner enjoys. And once you've got that, then, you can compare the notes, so to speak. Oh, it looks like we enjoy the same things. Let's see what we can do about it. And then that's when the consent comes. And then further and further, oh, I'd like to explore this. That's a lot of conversation. And when it comes to vanilla sex, which is exactly, which doesn't have any of it. I actually don't know, because I'm not that well versed when it comes to just vanilla sex, and I hope things got better. But normally you just get on with things rather than having long-winded conversation. But I suppose there are people who love their sexuality and love to explore things, and they have, conversations as well. I mean, it varies from person to person.
We'll move on to like what type of customers and stuff, you find within here, as we're sitting in her dungeon at the moment, and it looks really cool. But do you ever get any women?
Very rarely.
When they do come, is it just they're curious, or they want to actually get involved, or?
Yes, both.
Okay.
They're curious, they want to get involved. They maybe are bisexual, or gay. So, but women are able to find it without paying. So
yeah,
there's very little market for it, realistically.
I think as well what you just said is actually really interesting, because your job, take away the whips and the leather and all the toys, your basic job is to read someone and really get to know what they want and listen to it and follow through.
Correct.
Which is actually a skill that is quite hard,
and
not everyone can do.
Yes, that's what makes or breaks a good dominatrix, actually.
Listening.
Yes, and being able to create an intimate environment in a short space of time with a person that you barely know.
Yeah, you're just striking a bond instantly.
Well, you have to, yes. I mean, well, you don't, but it's good if you're able to do it.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. Well,
they're extremely intimate things for people who ask for, their fetishes. Probably very few people in general are even, this isn't something you disclose to anyone. And it's like any part of our sexuality. Normally, you just don't talk about it, let alone something that's considered weird. So looking at it this way, I'm the only person who is a party to a very intimate thing. And, and we have what we do with it. Well, we have fun.
Do you think that gives you the power and the leverage that a dominatrix would have now that you know their, so to speak, secret?
Say it again, I didn't understand.
Sorry. So obviously I'm going to take a stab in the dark and assume that, quite a few of your customers, like you said, they are obviously shy of this kink they have. So whether they have a wife at home or they don't explore it with other partners outside of but you, they feel that they can come to you in comfort and confide this kink. But because you are the only one who really knows about this kink, does that give you the power and the leverage as the dominatrix?
No, I don't suppose it gives me any power or leverage. Okay. But how would I use my power or leverage? This is role play. You know, in a role play scenario, I suppose I'd have certain power over them, but in reality, we are just two players in the same game.
So it's very much play. It's not, I think what I'm getting at is obviously the misconception out there of that dominatrix is woman who, has ultimate power and like just can whip him into shape and make him come whenever he wants, not come
but that's absolutely correct. Oh yes, from that, yes, okay.
Yeah. Pussy whip is the correct term.
Of course, it's so inherent for me that I tend to forget that bit. Yes, I make all the rules. Once I establish the consent.
Yes.
And, we have a good thorough discussion. And, there are a few other things we discuss as well. Then it's all, this is my way or highway.
Yeah.
And then I have to relinquish the power. But, of course, they love it, my subs. so everyone's happy.
That must have been such, as well a powerful thing when you learnt it in this occupation, and then you can take little bits of it into your personal life. You know, whether it's you're dealing with a shitty landlord or something, not that you're gonna whip him, but you know, you can like really take that element of power and translate it into your everyday life.
It's very helpful to be able to voice yourself as a female. Doing this helps. Doing, you know, well, let's say interacting with men, being able to tell them, or in general tell people what to do, how do you want things done, being assertive, that can be quite helpful. And I can definitely use it. Not that I need to, but yeah,
it's always handy to have in your arsenal.
It is very handy, actually, very, very handy, because many women actually don't. So
I think it's because sometimes we're programmed to be quite passive.
Yes,
but
for whatever reason, you know, it's been like that. It's getting slightly better, but not as good as we would like it to be.
Well, some men are getting scared, so you know it's getting slightly better, like the ones who are quite sexist, so to speak.
Correct.
But let's look at the customers, okay? If any are listening, shout out, hello. If you look at like pie chart, so imagine pie chart, what is your customer base? Like what percentage? I'm gonna guess high-powered men in jobs where they're constantly telling people what to do, so they want to come to woman and woman tells them what to do.
Yes, some of my clients are like that. But when it comes to my client base, it's every single person imaginable. So when I think about it, there isn't a particular person. There isn't one particular description. Ages vary as well. So from lads in their 20s to older gentlemen in their 60s. And they come from every wake of life.
Yeah.
And from not just from the UK, but I have a lot of clients from abroad. So it's really, really, really varied for me.
Do you ever travel for your work?
No, I stay here.
With your customers, have you ever had experience financially dominating? Because I've never really understood that principle, but what is financial domination? Because a lot of girls say, I would love to do financial domination, but what is it?
Financial domination is one of the fetishes. It's quite a big one. It mostly is done online. And I specialize in real-time sessions.
Okay.
So there isn't that much of a crossover between my client base and someone who's a financial dominatrix. So I don't do too much of it simply because I'm not that active online. I just don't have enough time. I would love to have all the time to do it.
Wouldn't we all?
Oh God, exactly. There are a few of my friends who do both actually, and you can be very successful, but it just depends which fetish you enjoy most and how you prefer engaging with men. So I prefer having a person here with me in person, and some prefer doing it online, so they gravitate to those type of fetishes. But yes, some men are aroused by the idea of a woman taking their money from them, or they are aroused by giving her money. That's pretty much it. But it's not an easy fetish. You know, the level of skill required for this dominatrix to do it skillfully is enormous, because it's all mental. You know, they need to have something for it. Yeah. It's not like no one's gonna give anyone a penny unless they get something in return. So it's not like they're giving money because I told them.
No, that sounds more sugar daddy-esque what you said, but also...
Well, no, but sugar daddy needs something for it. He gets sex. You know, there's always the exchange. We all know.
Well, I have my friend, she's a sugar baby, and she came on the podcast, and basically there's misconception that sugar daddy is, you know, you can just go on a few dates and he pays you a lot of money. I'm sure you can go on one date and get paid money. You know, I've gone for like brunch with a man and gotten like, £200 for that. But I think sometimes it's dangerous because girls think, I can just go and do this without, you know, having sex or an intimate side to it. But she said 80% of the relationships in sugar daddying are like that. So
Sexual.
Of
course, yes.
But people think it's just an easy thing, and it's annoying because I'd imagine people just think dominatrix is the idea of just, I'm going to smack him, da-da-da. It's not. It's a whole art and a craft.
Yes, but of course, men, if they pay us money, they have expectations, and rightly so. It's an expensive thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it is for me to fulfill their expectations. And I'm really lucky. I'm a massive kinkster myself, an enormous fetishist. I really love it. I know my job very well and I enjoy it. And as a result, we get on with things, and we, like I'm saying, the most important thing with BDSM is to have the fun and enjoyment that comes with it. And there we go. But since there is the financial exchange, they have expectations that they want met.
Let's go into these kinks, because there's
So many. Oh.
So basically, there's 200 of these classic ones, and from when I went online, basically from what I saw, the dom will put yes, 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 no.
Yeah.
And often most doms are open to most things, and they're just one or two things that they're not for them for whatever reason. What are your main favorite ones to do? A client comes and he says, I would like this, and your eyes light up.
Fantastic. It's such a difficult question. I do like a lot of things. But I've got a few specialities. One of them is erotic hypnosis. I do like hypnotizing my subjects. Then another one again is shibari. This is Japanese bondage
With the rope.
Okay. Japanese rope bondage, quite intricate. Then I do like pegging. But then again, everyone loves a little bit of pegging. And I think, what else? There were a few more. So general power exchange is what I enjoy. Power exchange is something that I absolutely love. I do like worship. So, for example, that's again quite a fetishy thing rather than... Well, I do like the painful activities too. Then again, I do love over the knee spanking, and I do like a good masochist. But that's just very rare. So, I'm lucky that I'm very versatile. But I think the hypnosis, rope bondage, teasing, pegging, worship, and if I have a masochist and anything that's painful. Obviously that covers, oh God, and I do like my sissies too.
Sissies?
I can't forget the girls. they get very upset that I didn't mention. Oh my God, but how about all the latex boys?
Are these the ones you dress up as feminize?
Yes, I do love that a lot. So, it's good. I consider myself very lucky because I have a lot of joy coming from all these things. But then again, you've got to choose your specialities and, just make sure that, you do your best to be, to excel at them. Pretty much.
My downstairs roommate, he might listen to this. He loves shibari. He's like on all the Reddit groups about shibari.
It's wonderful. It's very, very interesting. This is what I'm going to be doing tonight. It's very calming, very intricate, very particular. You need to be very focused when you do it. You achieve a beautiful artistic result, especially if someone is suspended. And also, it's,
I'm just looking where she's suspending people.
Well, it's not painful, but it's bondage. This isn't an easy thing on the body.
But this is sign.
It looks like, someone's just hanging in the air, tied by rope. It's tough. It's tough.
From what I have read, a lot of this, pain, it's to do with evoking certain kind of stimulants in the body.
Correct.
The science behind it, maybe you know a bit more?
Well, yes, we're looking for certain hormones to be released, and that's the reason why BDSM is so popular, because you get more of a kick from, let's say, activities that can be a little bit more painful, or you're restrained. So yes, I don't have any particulars at the moment, but, we've got adrenaline, endorphins, serotonin, and you create a cocktail and a mix of those, in various ways, in various circumstances, and that's the reason why people like it, because there's very few other circumstances where you can do it. Just sex, it's not all encompassing for the person who has those needs in particular, because if someone doesn't have such needs, if you're gonna do it, it's not gonna really work.
With this erotic hypnosis, I'm very intrigued.
It is very intriguing, yes.
It sounds like the ultimate one to have, because you can just hypnotize them to come back again and again and again.
Yes, I had once a client, oh my God, yeah, a long time ago, I had a client who requested it, and I had to keep doing it. I was very new at the time to hypnosis. I was learning it, and that was his idea, and as a result, I learned it very well because I had to keep practicing. But yes, normally, of course, then I need their consent, so...
Yes.
If that's what they want, that's what I would do, but there are a few things. People just enjoy being in trance or in subspace, which can be quite similar. And again, this is a wonderful place to be in because you stay in the moment. And the moment is full of arousal and submission.
Yes.
So, like I'm saying, there's very few circumstances in your life where you can enjoy your sexuality in such fashion. Unbridled? I don't know how to pronounce it. Unbridled? Do you know what I'm trying to
Embroiled.
say?
Maybe?
No, without constraints. What word was it? Unbridled.
Unbridled.
Yeah. So they're unconstrained. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I'm a linguist. I like words.
It sounds so liberating as well. Like you
Very
can just
liberating.
have what you both discuss and want. Femdom, is that what we were speaking about earlier with the woman dressing up as a woman, or what's femdom?
You're talking about feminization.
Okay, yes.
Femdom is just another word for what I do.
Okay.
Female dominatrix.
Okay. I mean, obviously this job, we say there's obviously lots of benefits to it. It can be financially rewarding. You can really enjoy it. Has there ever been any hairy moments where you felt endangered in your work?
No, luckily there hasn't been a moment like that, which is fantastic. We also have a very good support network between us dominatrixes, and if someone got into such trouble, we would know straight away. So there is a lot of ways in which we communicate and news travel quickly. If someone came across a client that's uncooperative or dangerous, straight away the rest of the industry would know. And there are also website ugly mugs or Client Eye. We use them.
I know my friend mentioned Client Eye because a lot of escorts will use that as well.
Of course.
With this kind of thing as well, you mentioned dungeons earlier. So you are freelancer because this is your own space.
Correct.
So obviously financially there's more benefit to having your own space because there's no limit, there's no one taking percentage of you.
Yes.
Which to me makes most sense, but obviously someone getting into it might go to a dungeon like you said. What's your opinion on a system where you're on the books and you have mistress that takes commission off you and when you go and see clients? Because I came across this website where there's BDSM mistresses, and then it was kind of a network where you would speak to the main one and then they would take percentage off the girl.
Yes, it's legal.
Yeah.
So that's sort of, well, I've had that discussion a few times. So you need to be quite careful. Whereas it's very unlikely that anything will happen. In reality, you advertising something that's illegal.
Yeah. It's
like running a brothel. So that's one thing. So now let's move away from this because this should be legal. Ta-da! I don't believe that, especially so let's say we've got that one woman and she's got a few doms underneath her. She's obviously older, experienced. She's got the space. The girls are new, and she's got them under her wings. It benefits everyone. Okay, right. So they're getting the experience. They feel safer. Yeah. They go somewhere where they know there's another person. Let's say in the facility. Yeah. They gain from the ladies' experience. It's fantastic. I don't believe this should be illegal. Okay. But of course, there's the other side of the story. We have the exploitation that can happen if but not not among dominatrixes. I think it's more in other parts of sex industry. But I would love it for this to be sort of legal and even sort of regulated. Not well regulated. Then that's another, how would you regulate it? But let's say if someone has the space and experience and they want to charge for both.
Yeah.
For someone who doesn't have any experience, it's very difficult to get into it. So, yes.
I think as well, the way you describe it, it sounds more like, maybe like, it's very weird to describe it this way, it's like a school where like you can learn and stuff. And one day when you're like, okay, I can go out on my own. But again, like you said, it's important because there is that side of exploitation. But I think people get a bit muddled up with, that's more like brothels, and when you're looking at more terms of like people who are just offering sex in terms of prostitution.
Yes, but then again, is brothel really an exploitation? If we look at it, it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be,
because it's just if we have, let's say, 3, even some my friends had a brothel not far from here, and there were 3 of them, and they had a maid. They were just much safer.
Yeah, like I do agree.
So I think it's just a cooperative, call it as you may, right?
I do agree with like you can create a system where everyone feels safer, and communication is the key, and no one's being forced against their will. But again, like in sex industry, people like to conflate that awful 1% with all of it.
Unfortunately, and the current reality is different. Everything happens online. You've got to trace. There's no way you can do anything without being online and without it all being on show.
Yeah.
It's not these days where you just brought some random girls and you could keep them and people would just come and everything is under the rug. You need to advertise. It would be good if it was all more current. But, we are where we are, unfortunately, and we're just hoping for the law to change and for it to be completely decriminalized.
Well, like, the most common thing I can think of at the moment is when it comes to, obviously, that model of stuff and people going against the will is, like, the Andrew Tate stuff of, like...
Oh, exactly.
I don't want to mention this word too much, but, like, the trafficking.
Of course.
And basically, like, the lover boy method.
Oh, well, yes.
Yeah. But that's obviously the side no one with a logical brain agrees that is fair or that is safe.
Yes, but with I suppose it would be a bit more difficult to do it to a dominatrix.
Yes.
Or how you can force someone to be dominant. So our industry doesn't have that particular issues, but of course I'm aware. I'm just a part of a very, very much a larger industry with its own problems, and I'd like to be able to see a bigger picture.
Yeah. Especially when sex is such, and when I say sex, I mean everything from kink and like the sexual experience. We all are involved in it one way or another. We all participate in a sexual fantasy or a kink or just normal sex. So why can't we have more open and frank conversations about it?
Well, that's exactly the point.
Yeah. I mean, I think I look at Andrew Tate and I think he is the type that would secretly love to be dominated.
Quite possible, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably that's why he's so aggressive, because he, that's another issue. If you have those persistent fantasies, they will never go away. So it doesn't matter whether you're a woman or a man, and whether the kinky fantasies can be anything, whether you want to be dominated, whether you want to be dominant. But let's say, if you're a man who wants to be dominated, one way or another, and those fantasies will always persist. You will never be able to get rid of them. There's no amount of therapy. It's like being gay. You can't just erase it, because next time the person is aroused, your brain will start ticking again. Oh, I'd like this, I'd like this, I'd like this. So imagine not being unable to ever do it. What kind of wreckage it can cause in your mental health.
Do you think kink... It's hard to identify where kink is born
But even the
out.
guys who come to you, obviously they have certain, I don't know, fetish for watching, I suppose, you know, and that's why you always get them. There are the ones, I'm sure you have regulars who, or you know, there are few reasons why people go to strip clubs, and few reasons why people go to dominatrixes, right?
Strip clubs are what I like to describe as the low-level gateway to the wider experience. So it's for the people who are a bit shy and they don't want to fully send their way onto there. So I speak about this in stripping. You have two approaches. You have girl next door, which is soft sale, and then you have what we call dominatrix approach, which is harder and more like you tell them what's going to happen. But we call that hard sale, which is technical sale terms, because I used to do a sales job in a corporate job. But we have a lot of people asking, yes, like you said, for kinks and fetishes. I can't tell you the amount of times that people have wanted to just give me a foot rub and I don't get naked, or they've wanted like a domination. So I have a pair of handcuffs in my handbag.
Yes, I think maybe they feel exactly, it's like a gateway. It's a little bit softer. You don't have to be so scared. You can see. It's fantastic that it can happen that way.
Yeah.
But obviously, you know, that same thing, that the tick, 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 tick brought them there, you know, because they have that need and they want to satisfy it.
A lot of them will go and see a dominatrix after, or they will go to a brothel because as well, in UK strip clubs, you're not allowed to touch.
Correct.
Which, have you ever worked as a stripper?
No, but I've been to many strip clubs as a client.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. Always fun to talk to girls and just, you know, just chill and, you know, and do a little bit of teasing. Teasing is the right word, yeah.
You can network as well. I remember there was a dom who came in and her friends were strippers and she was just the one dom. Yep. And it's just nice because you have people who you're not doing the exact same job, but you're from the same kind of world. And
it's obviously women are beautiful. It's lovely to see their bodies. And I, you know, went there with my few partners and it's just such a lovely thing to do. Do you know what I mean? I mean, for me, of course, it's so easy. I suppose some people would be a bit worried, but for me, it's very interactive as well. So,
I mean, what I like about stripping is that it's unlimited how much you can make in one night. You could be walking away with £40 or you could be walking away with £2,000. You never know. Is it the same kind of thing in doming? Like, is it a fixed rate or do you...
So, yes, there's a certain amount we charge per hour, but the amount of clients you get, you know, you never know. So that in that way is very similar. You will never know how much you're going to make.
Yeah.
How much bookings are going to, how many bookings are going to come your way? No.
Do you instruct that they leave a tip or do you ask?
Tip? No. No one leaves any tips. No. It's expensive as it is. It's a very expensive thing, so I don't, unfortunately. Well, but, you know, that's just the way it is. But people do tips sometimes, but rarely.
Nice surprise.
Very nice.
So with the doming, you've done it for a while, you've done it for 7 years. How have you found relationships and navigated that? I'll leave the question open to you.
My personal relationships are unaffected by it. Of course, it means that, well, it goes without saying that there are certain people I would like to be in a relationship with, and there are only certain people who would be happy to be in a relationship with me. But I've never had any issues with my job preventing me from being in a happy relationship, which is really good. It means the society here is quite tolerant. You know, there are a lot of men who have absolutely no issue with women doing sex work. So, yeah, I engage with those. I appreciate, you know, I don't want a vanilla relationship because that will never work with me being so kinky. And obviously, kinksters are very open-minded, and you know, there's many of them are really not jealous. So yeah, it's actually that bit is quite okay. I'm very pleased.
Yeah,
because I haven't really thought about it when I started, but it turned out that way.
People would be very shocked to learn that like a lot of people within the sex industry, and I'm not just speaking about doming or stripping, but like from porn to OnlyFans to everything like you can think of. A lot of people are in relationships, and I'm sure there's a statistic I could try and find, but I would guess predominantly relationships.
Yes, I mean, I think it just matches the general population.
Yeah.
So, certain, let's say, girls my age are in relationships and a certain amount aren't. And with sex workers, I'm sure it's the same. It's not like we have any difficulties.
Did I see that right? You're on OnlyFans on your website as well, or not?
Yes, I am. I've got a website and I've got OnlyFans.
Yeah, okay. So you also do the translation of what you do here in person onto online a little bit, because I know you said you're more in person, but I think as well, like, where I can maybe bond on you with doing a job that is in person, is it's more fun to interact with someone and play.
Depends on your preferences. Some of us like it and others don't.
Yes,
exactly. So we choose the bits we enjoy, and I seem to have fallen into this bit, enjoyed it ever since, and there we are.
If I say what's the craziest thing you've ever done? I don't think you will see what you have done as crazy, but what is take the most vanilla thing a client has asked you to do in a session to the most what you would maybe perceive as craziest.
Well, exactly. So the craziest, I don't necessarily find any fetishes crazy because they're all normal to me. So I find it difficult.
But interesting maybe is a better word.
Oh, exactly. Now that's an entirely different story. There are some fetishes that are, let's say, less common than others, such as a puffer jacket fetish. So there would be men who enjoy a woman wearing a puffer jacket. And
just the puffer jacket?
Yeah, puffer jacket on top of any sort of clothing you'd like. And
was this man English?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think I know, like, a lot of girls when they're teenagers, they wear puffer jackets. So maybe he fancied a girl with a puffer jacket when he was younger.
Yeah. Probably right. Yeah.
And she was a bit mean to him.
Yeah. I had 2 clients like that, and my friend had 1. So there were 3, and they were very different in a way they approached their fetish.
The puffer jacket fetish. Wow. That's not one of the 200 cores, is it?
Well, I suppose if we started counting those, then there would be even more.
Yeah.
Because I remember sitting with a friend and we were wondering, what can we fetishize? And we were looking at earbuds. As in a fetish for, we were just like, let's find the most random thing and see if there's fetish around it.
Do you mean the little things you put in your... That does feel orgasmic when you do that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's, engaged with fetishes that can be enacted in real life.
Yes.
I think there was a fetish for bees or something ridiculous like that. I mean, there's nothing... Actually, no, I suppose I could play a bees video.
Yeah, I mean... There's like this thing in Friends where Monica is worried that Chandler is into sharks because he's watching a porn and he switches it over to the shark channel and he's about to...
Exactly.
But it's probable, people have very different... I think in this world as well, people confess these secrets of what they like. And because also, if you look at men of a certain generation past, I'm going to say 40, they have this path of... get married, find the right girl, get really good job, have very vanilla sex life, 2 kids, Of course, they want to explore this kinky side that they never got to explore. Like, it's obvious to me.
Well, if some of them do, and they find themselves in a situation whereby they're married and the partner is not interested, then, this is the only gateway. This is the only avenue in which they can use. That's the reason why I'm in business. And again, it's not like all my clients are married. No, not at all. It's just very difficult to find. Now, it's not very easy for men in a dating world these days in general.
Yep.
It's tough.
Hypergamy.
Exactly. And then finding a woman to engage in kinks, that's, again, making a lot of effort. So sometimes it's just easier for them to just come and visit us. But that is the very reason why the sex industry exists.
Simple creatures, they want simple pathway. I guess as well, another question is with the domming, the first thing I ever heard about it from girls who have done it in the club was you don't have to take part in intercourse, which
Mhm.
I've heard is subjective. Some people don't, some people do.
Very few doms take part in an intercourse because it's not really something they look for, the guys. So there's a very little crossover.
Yeah.
But not that, we don't adhere to any, the word hierarchy I was trying to explain to people. Not hierarchy, yes, but hierarchy.
Like whore.
You're like whore.
Okay.
And by that means, I'm a dominatrix. I'm untouchable here. I don't touch no penis or whatever. No.
Yeah.
No. That's dated. But it used to be the case. Now, luckily, makes no difference to, I'd be very upset if any of my colleagues had such views. So, we're all the same. Whether you work with whatever part of your body to make that man sexually aroused, as your photo is, something a little bit more sexual. It's all this. Luckily, it's fine. So we're all on the same boat. We have to be together in it because, it's difficult as it is for us.
What's like the time for a normal session?
An hour and a half, 2 hours. A few people like a little longer ones.
What's been your longest ever session?
Overnight. Had a few that were overnight, and that's. I haven't had one that lasted for a few days, for a long while, but those happen very rarely actually. But can do, yeah. Overnights as well. Not very common, but they do happen sometimes.
Yeah, I suppose. Imagine that is a woman and she wants to become dominatrix. I'm very much of the train of thought that we have different personalities, and different personalities are why we're good at different jobs.
Correct.
What characteristics would you say someone should have if they want to become dominatrix?
First of all, it really is helpful if you're actually kinky. Because you will be able to understand these fetishes much better, and you will have personal satisfaction from engaging in them. So that is very important. The rest, because without it, then you're this vanilla girl who likes to make money some way. And
Actress.
Yes, and I mean, the financial rewards are there, and it's a really well-paid job, but I suppose the personal satisfaction might not be there. So that's one thing. And you need to like men. You do need to like men. The dominatrix, men hating dominatrix. Unless you stay online and you don't have any contact with men, then absolutely. You can make fantastic content. And not every person needs to like, not every woman needs to like men. So, but if you see them in real time, and then you need to enjoy a company of a man. Same with you, bread and butter. If you don't like men, and that's all you're ever dealing with, that's never gonna make you successful. You're always gonna be, angry.
In my, I suppose, sector, that's a better word to describe it. Yes and no. Some of the happiest strippers I know are lesbians.
Oh yes, that
yes.
But do they not like men at all?
They do like men, so on that front, I agree. You have to. I know sometimes women have bad experience with men, and they're like, I hate men. Yeah. But they can detach. They can have happy.
Oh yeah, exactly, absolutely. Same with us.
Yes.
So you don't have to like them sexually.
Yeah.
But you need to like them as sort of a group of people. I suppose. I mean, this is if you don't like to be in a company of a particular type of person, then it will never work. But these days, all of us do. Most of us do.
Yeah.
And so you need to be comfortable around men. You need to be kinky. Then the rest is a skill. But this job needs a huge variety of skills in order for a dominatrix to be successful. There is the managing my business requires a lot of skills. Advertising, creating a brand, then, creating a personable experience that they're going to enjoy so that I can have repeat business. There's a lot to it. And, yes, it's a skilled job, you know. In order to make good money, well, anyone can start it.
Yeah.
But in order to succeed, you know, you need to really, really know what you're doing. You need to gain passion, knowledge, and also, ability to learn. I wouldn't have a clue what to do in a strip club in order to get the money of men.
I don't think you'd struggle, honey.
Yes, but but it's a skill. Let's say you put me there for 2 weeks. Let's see what I can learn. There are techniques. There are, you're not doing random things. So again, certain skills of mine would be transferable. But, imagine not having a clue about any of it.
I will say yes, I do agree you can't have a vendetta or hate men if you are going to be in this industry. It doesn't work. But you can have a very intolerable customer. You probably had the same. I've been dancing for sometimes just the worst customer you can imagine.
Well, yes, we're not always lucky to always enjoy every single bit of our job. Unfortunately, that's the reason why it's called like that. It's a job. So every now and again, you just remind yourself, that, we're lucky anyway. If I like what I do and I enjoy it 99.9% out of the time, every now and again, of course, you're not going to click with every single person.
Yeah.
And
bad day at the office.
Yeah, so, it's just collateral of the job sometimes.
So I think this is probably the most, what I'm going to ask you now is impactful to maybe this conversation and within the sexual industry. Do you think when it comes to more regulation within sex work and changing the attitudes towards sex work, what are some positive steps we can take, maybe in government or just personal attitudes? What can we take to make it more hospitable?
So make it a little bit more mainstream, so people understand, so general public can understand how it looks these days. There are a few documentaries on TV at this point, which is wonderful. I think it's Olivia Atwood, if I remember. So that's wonderful. So people can see that we're normal. It's one thing. And second of all, well, I would love it for our job to be fully decriminalized, so that we can just work in peace without worrying. I wish there was more legislation making it easier for us. Sometimes bank can just freeze our accounts for no reason.
I didn't know that.
Oh yes, happened to a friend recently. Luckily, she was a dominatrix and my bank froze her accounts for the weekend. Luckily, after the weekend, after 6 days, she got her money back. But a few years back, I think in 2020, another dominatrix had her account frozen for 2 years. She had to go to an ombudsman. It was in press. So
is that because the customer pays money and then when he leaves, he's like, oh.
No, I mean, I think, well, yes, that could be a reason. But also another reason is because the banks don't like to deal with sex workers.
No, they don't. I tried to get a Santander business account because I wanted personal and business separate. Because, you put your expenses.
Of course, yeah.
And I made the mistake of telling them, because I used to be burlesque dancer, which I have feelings of people accept burlesque dancers more, but it's just basically a different craft of stripping, different art. But basically they said, oh, do you do any other type of dancing? And I just said naively, yes, I'm a stripper. And they said, let me check our guidelines and see if we can do something.
Yeah. And the answer was no.
And no. And I recorded the conversation and I said, by the way, I've actually had the investment bankers from Santander Bank spend their expense account in the strip club. So if you don't want to take my bank account, look who's going to the strip club in your office.
Well, yeah. And, well, luckily there are a few banks who allow it.
Yeah.
But, then again, that's what happens, and that's, I wish it was different, but it's not. So we're hoping to make things better for us.
The new banks are catching on a little bit more.
Yeah.
When you look at, is it Monzo and
Yes,
Revolut?
I think those are. So you just need to look at their terms and conditions and who they allow and who they not. So, but it's possible to find one. But I wish this wasn't the case in the first place.
Yeah.
Because they view it as a morality. Since when banks deal with morality? It's just we're running a business. All of us run a business as any other business.
The sexual marketplace will always exist.
Well, yes. There's no way that it's never been possible to stop it, let alone now.
Just because, you have your kink and you're too shy to do it and you have shame or whatever, and you're going to accost people who want to make a living through doing this, it doesn't make sense.
Well, exactly. So, yeah, that's what I say. Okay, going back to your original question. So, I think us working together as well, and, there are unions, luckily, there are collectives. Same for us, trying to achieve something that way, working towards decriminalization. That would be a good step forward to start with even. But whether it's going to happen.
Have you heard of I think it's called an organisation called Not Buying It?
No.
And it's basically, you can tell me if you understand the logic, but it's from this woman who she says she's feminist and she supports women's rights and stuff. And basically what she's trying to do is she's trying to criminalise any kind of sex work. So whether that be prostitution, BDSM, dominatrix, stripping. She's going after stripping more, so because it's the lower level one you can try and get rid of. But I understand we have problems within our industry, that goes without doubt, but I don't understand how you can call yourself feminist and take away women's work from them.
Well, precisely. But our society in general these days, societies are very polarized, so nothing will surprise me.
Yeah.
Where do people get their views and why?
Yeah.
There's so much. I mean, it was very evident during COVID and people's approaches to this, to vaccination. So, it stems from her own insecurities. Of course, why does she have particular vendetta among strippers?
Yeah.
What needs does she need to satisfy of her own?
Yeah.
So that, just live and let live.
I mean, you have a poor argument when you're going to use the 1% argument to bash the rest of the industry.
Yes, and I hope she's never going to have any luck with achieving any success.
No, she's probably never set foot in a place of like a dungeon or a strip club or something as well.
Thank God. But everything is so regulated. How can you in the UK, sexual trafficking isn't as it is at all. This is what Andrew Tate did. That's the Loverboy method. They weren't moved from one place to another. They were just coerced. Yeah.
So I would need to read what I can on it to have a fully concise definition. But from what I understand, it's conversing someone and manipulating someone against their free will, or promising something and then not delivering, which in Andrew Tate's case is sex trafficking. Yeah. And you do get sex trafficking in a strip club, 1% and a little bit. But they should have, on the other hand, more psychological tests of managers in strip clubs. Yeah. In brothels, more psychological tests to notice if someone is being trafficked and crack down on trafficking.
Yes, or sort of ask those questions. Are you here against your will? Did someone make you do this job?
We can help you.
We can help you.
Are you getting all of your money that you're making from this?
Exactly.
In the Netherlands, they have the same model. When you rent the window, the landlord has to go through regulated from the government psychological thing.
Fantastic.
That
would be fantastic to even go that way. I can't begin to imagine how you can force someone to go to a strip club. But I suppose it's all possible. It happens. So then it's up to the other parties like us to take steps so it doesn't.
And I think you will only, from these types of things, podcasts or media pieces, you will only get the truth of what is going on in this industry and stuff. Taking it back to dominatrixing, or do you call it dominatrixing or just domming?
Domming is the...
Domming.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know any male doms?
No, not really. No.
No.
It's not a very popular profession. It's just because, again, women can get that without paying.
What's your favourite stuff to wear? Like, are you a latex girl, lace girl?
Oh, God. I love a variety of outfits. Latex, leather, lingerie, silk, satin, or even street clothes, yoga pants.
Puffer jacket.
I just like to feel comfortable in what I'm wearing. The last thing I want is to wear something that makes me feel uncomfortable.
Latex isn't...
Latex can be, but then again, I love it. So I have pieces that are very comfy, luckily. So I can make that work. But in general, I want to be comfortable. So when I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm not thinking, oh my God, it's so tight. Oh my God, the corset is too tight or something like that. So yeah, providing it's comfortable, I'm happy. Doesn't matter what it is.
Do the clothes help you become the character?
No. No, not these days, no. Nah. It used to be like that at the beginning. I remember I was so weirded out when I had to do my first session wearing normal clothes. I had one last week like this, and I'm like, oh, this is so nice. Like, I don't have to do anything here. I'm gonna lounge. And then I sort of reminded myself, oh, wow. A few years back, I was thinking, what's it gonna be? How am I gonna do it? It's just like, you know, so I suppose your headspace changes with the clothes, but with the experience, you can make that headspace work regardless of what you're wearing and regardless of whether you have toys or not. I could do a session without a single toy, without any problem. But it didn't used to be the case. It's just a question of experience.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. And my clothes do much make my character. Wash on, wash off, like my personality. But with your kind of, you know, Mistress Wildfire, and then who you are in your personal life, you said the one thing to be dominatrix is you must naturally be kinky and it's authentic.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between, you know, who you are at work and who you are just more personally? Apart from like monetization?
Not really. I try to make it very clear to everyone that I do not want to put up a persona because it's boring, takes effort, and it's take it or leave it. If you like my approach, if you like my style, which is as much of it is actual me as possible to put in, then we're good friends.
Yeah. Because
it would be very difficult for me to try to be someone else for all this time. So no, and it's like that for all of us these days. But then again, you know, then I love a role play.
Yeah.
So if they say, oh, mistress, I would really like you to be this, I said, fantastic. Let's do a good role play. And I had this, I have my regular client, and he said to me, mistress, but I really need you to berate me, to be very haughty, and I want to be told off nonstop. I'm like, but you know, we're talking, like, you come here, you don't really make any mistakes.
Yeah.
You behave yourself.
Yeah.
You know, what am I going to tell you off about? You know, I can't make up a reason. It's stupid.
It's fake, yeah.
And then he said, mistress, let's do a role play. You're going to be random European aristocracy, and I'll be a steward. I'll be 18. Do you know how many? Nothing was ever done correctly in the estate. So many failings. Every single week, he was in my office. That poor lad could do nothing right. Oh dear! But then it rubbed off me, because last time he came in and he didn't do anything. It's just, I don't know, he was wet or something, and I told him off for being wet.
And that was a reason.
Alan is his name. Look what you've done here. How dare you? And I'm just laughing. And he's like, mistress, yes, you know, I'm just laughing. I can tell you off for standing incorrectly these days. Yeah. Some of them love it. But then again, not everyone. It's certain attitudes. And we do talk about it. Because my attitude in a session varies, you know, and I appreciate if someone says, oh, I really like, even yesterday I had someone, I like the dominatrix to be very sweet and seductive. Absolutely. I don't want to then be, you know, I won't be telling him off. It's consent. And then someone says, oh, you know, mistress, I want you to be really cruel and shouting. Yes. See how that's going to go for you. Are you sure? God, this man was terrified. But, you know, he's my regular. He understands I'm not like that. Because then, you know, if you meet someone, you need to delineate from their actual persona and then the role play you're doing. So you don't think that this woman is crazy. That it's, you know, that we're engaged in a play. It's called play for a reason.
Do you do the red, amber, green?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That, you know, the safe word is extremely important. Everyone gets their safe word.
Just for the audience, so do you want to explain, obviously, red, amber, green?
The safe word is, so let's say especially when you're doing something painful, the people have their limits. Everyone's got a different limit. And let's say, this is less applicable to a dominatrix, but more to general kink play. If someone goes above and beyond a limit of someone, of what play partner can take, then they say the safe word, red, and the play has to stop, because they're not happy with what's happening to them. Me being a professional, I have not had anyone use a safe word because I know what I'm doing. My job is to keep them safe. Of course, people with less experience and perhaps less ability to read someone's reaction, then it's a good idea to have them. Also, but for me, it's essential that my missives communicate if something is wrong, whether it's in a form of a safe word or anything else. Let's say the expectation is always, you know, I always give them an example. Oh, the collar is too loose. The collar is a bit tight, mistress. Oh, I just, you know, the hood is making me hot. I have a cramp, you know, so those things I need to know. Also, they might not enjoy some, especially if, you know, it's a new client. They might not enjoy a certain sensation at all. You know, they don't have to say red because they're not in some sort of distress, but they say, actually, I don't like, you know,
it's not for me,
my balls being smacked that way.
Yeah.
So if we're trying things out, I expect to be told that. I want them to have fun and enjoyable time and not to go through with something that they're not enjoying. Yeah. So that's, you know, one of the important things. But again, that's with kink. We would like to believe that all of us are like that. And whether it's a safe word or whether it's just straightforward communication, however it's done, it works.
I think we'd have like a happier sexual society if people just communicated more.
Correct.
I mean, you said earlier, are you with one person right now or maybe a few or?
No, I'm single.
Single, okay. So basically like a lot of people who, I'm heterosexual, you know, I find women very beautiful. My experience of just being heterosexual and in relationship is that some men, they just will not communicate what they want in the bed, and they don't understand that's what makes the woman horny, that, you know, they're satisfied and stuff. And it's just so interesting that sometimes men cannot communicate that with their wife, or they don't feel in a safe environment, but when they go to, you know, dominatrix dungeon, they feel like they can.
This is the fear of being judged.
Yep.
For their sexuality. And also, we're not really educated to do so. I wish consent is sexy. It's just getting better these days. A few years back, there was no conversation around the subject. So, you know, I'm hoping this will be beneficial to everyone, to be honest. Because this is what makes sex so exciting. When you know what your partner needs, you know your partner's wants, and you work together to, you know, to satisfy both of you, to be honest. To even see if you're compatible. That's another issue in marriages. People are just not sexually compatible, but they don't even know that till they keep on going and doing it, and then ta-da.
It's very hard to say that as well. I imagine 20 years in, 2 kids, it's very hard to say.
Correct.
I don't think we're compatible
because
sexually.
People have you know, obligations.
Yeah, true, very true. People do have their obligations. So we are wrapping towards the end. One thing I do want to know, what is your favorite gadget in this dungeon you like to use? What is the creme de la creme?
Oh, fantastic. It's my voice.
Your voice.
That's what I enjoy
Ooh.
using the most.
With the hypnosis?
In general.
Ooh.
I have a very particular voice, and it has an immediate effect on my subs.
It's excellent for a podcast.
Is it? Oh, already? Well, I'd like to think so as well. Yes, you see what I mean then.
It's very calming voice. It's very, so like in acting and stuff like that, you can tell by register if someone's distressed, if someone's like da-da-da. But you have very voice without stress, very calm, assertive, but not
leveled. I also, I'm not trying to sound sexy, but if I make effort to sound sexy, I sound very sexy.
Oh.
But it is, it's not it's just the way I'm not Elizabeth Holmes, who made herself, or Margaret Thatcher. I just have a naturally low voice. I remember many years ago, my ex, when I called him, said, why do you sound like a miner? The person who works in mines sound like a man. I'm like, oh no. But, when I started engaging in hypnosis, I realized that the voice you have, the timbre, is really important. And you can, of course, make it work the way you want it to convey certain feelings and sensations, and train it to a degree to achieve what you want of it. So that's where I am at the moment, and I'm really lucky with it because I've done nothing to achieve it, obviously.
Scarlett Johansson, she has a naturally very low register voice.
Oh, I wasn't aware of it. I need to listen to her once.
Well, she does, like, if you listen to any of her films, you get hi, like, it's more deep and stuff. But I think as well, like, to a lot of British men from just in the strip club, they love any kind of foreign Eastern European. They love Spanish.
Yes, they do. It's the Bond girl. But so because also that makes my voice a little bit more flat and having that accent, and it seemed to work the trick really well. And I will use it because, well, I have it. So
You sound so aware of all the sensations and tools you have, just externally but internally.
Yes,
this is very, very, very insightful. And
very what? Sorry, didn't get you.
Insightful.
Yes, I have taken a lot of effort, to learn about the things I do, to educate myself, to research. I'm not doing it, a little bit of fun on the side. I have a lot of knowledge about the things I do. I have a lot of experience these days. Always educate myself. Every day is a school day. Ask the clients again, get as many answers as possible of them, why they like it that way, what they like.
Get the data.
Absolutely, because, it makes me better. Yeah, that's always been my approach.
So I'm going to round off with a question that maybe the audience can take a little bit of something with them. So obviously, Mistress Wildfire, no one is ever going to do a session like you're going to do it, okay? No one's going to replicate at home what you can do.
Yes.
Because you are the GOAT. You know what the GOAT is? The greatest of all time.
Yeah.
But what's one thing that maybe, let's just say we have a vanilla couple at home or a couple trying to explore, sexual side, or they want to try a bit of BDSM. What's like a little thing they can maybe take with them and try at home that they'd be surprised?
I would say just generally being a little bit more in charge. So rather than, normally in a vanilla world, the man is in charge and he sort of would make more sexual decisions. I think every woman should try and think, what would be if I initiated, I did everything, and why I'm not doing it, why it could be fun, and sort of allow for the partner to enjoy for once, being taken care of. So he can relax into it. Not doing it. It doesn't have to be for the whole duration, but for a time. It could be very interesting. And then try a few things. Maybe, you know, tie him up to the bed and tease him and see what happens, whether, you know, you can have more fun that way.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with just trying if you're two consenting adults.
Oh, of course, you know, that's what BDSM is for, sexual exploration.
No, and as humans, it's important we play, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
So that is the end of our podcast. Little clap there on the microphone. So do you have any links you want to shout out? I'll put them below in the description on the podcast, but do you want to mention them?
Oh, yes. My website, it's mistresswildfire.com.
Thank you so much for your time, Mistress Wildfire.
Thank you.
I'm sure the audience will love what they've heard, and if you do want to get in touch with her, then just please follow the links we said. Thank you so much.
Wonderful talking to you.
Bye. If you want to follow any of the Sexonomics links, just look in the bio below, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.